Freedom to Marry campaign, yes. And then Grainne is with the Irish Yes campaign around, both around sort of marriage equality issues. And Jess has actually been campaigning for me to actually invite them for a while. And I didn't actually get around to following the link she sent me until sort of, a few months ago. And then I read one article and it's like, this is brilliant. This is absolutely brilliant. These people have managed to take an issue which many would view as sort of divisive, and to find a way to make it palatable so that people would actually vote yes on it. And vote yes in two places where you wouldn't expect a yes vote to necessarily happen first. And so in both Ireland and in the US. And I think a lot of the work around finding a message that resonates is a lot of the work we don't always do very well. We find a message that works with us, that we think works with our supporters, but we don't actually think, how do we get people who aren't necessarily normally our allies to support this? And that's what they've done really, really well. And I think as campaigners, we need to get much, much better at that. And so I'd like to introduce both of them to share their story. We will probably have little bit time for question and answer, depending how things go on later. But are both of you around for the 2 days, or is it just until the end of today? So Thalia is around for both days, and so there'll be time to chat. And Grainne, you're around until the end of today, and so there's also a chance to talk to her today. So I'd like to welcome you both, and thank you for coming.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Grainne Healy, and I'm delighted to be here with you this morning. We have, Thalia and I have done a sort of a two-hander presentation, and we're hoping that it works because we've got a lot of videos and mostly videos and advertising clips that we've done over the various campaigns over the years. So what I'm going to do, my role, I've been chairwoman of marriage equality in Ireland for a decade, and I was the co-director of the Yes Equality campaign, which some of you may know had a really good success last year in Ireland in May, when 62% of the population voted yes to giving constitutional protection to same-sex relationships in Ireland. So what we're going to do is, for those of you who weren't in Ireland but perhaps saw some of this on the television last year, we've got a short video of the day of the win in Dublin, just to get us in the mood. And then I'm going to step down, and Thalia is going to take you through the work she's been doing in America specifically, and then I will come back up and continue with the Irish story and look at some of the detail of that. Come on.
Vote for marriage equality. Counting of what will be a record number of votes gets underway at 9 o'clock this morning.
When you're in here today, you will be the face to the world of what's happening on this count centre. There will be people from all over the world here, and there will be people who don't agree with us here. We have to remember the respect and dignity that we brought to this campaign, and we will make sure on the last day of this campaign that respect and dignity will be as real in this room as we made it in every single corner of our capital city.
Members of the public are being invited to witness the results of the referendums at Dublin Castle today. 2,000 people will be able to see the results unfold on a big screen, which will be erected in the courtyard of the castle.
With high turnouts of over 70% reported in some parts of Dublin and other areas of the country when polls closed at 10 o'clock last night, voting in the marriage referendum will reach record levels. By mid-morning, a clear picture of how Ireland has decided on the marriage referendum will be known, with most observers expecting it to have passed comfortably.
Been an amazing social media trend with people all doing their best to make it home and help see this referendum passed.
Yes.
In favour of the proposal, 1,201,607.
Why did you fight so strongly for this, and what does it mean?
I felt our family wasn't recognised as being a family. It is now, and I can't thank the people of Ireland enough for what they did last Friday.
I have seen that so many times, and I tear up every time I watch that film. See if I can get us on the right slide here. I'm Thalia Zepatos. I'm a community organizer and campaigner from the United States. I've spent most of my 30 years in political work working on controversial and difficult social issues. And I've spent quite a bit of my life now as a straight ally working on LGBT rights in the United States. So our path to winning marriage equality in America has been really a long and winding road. And I'll share with you a little bit today what it took for us to get there. In the US, every state typically controls marriage laws. Traditionally, that's been the case. And our opposition really grabbed onto the idea of opposition to same-sex marriage as a way to build their base, to build momentum as a sort of key aspect of what we think of as the culture war in America. And between the late 1990s and 2010, they passed 31 state constitutional amendments. These were amendments defining marriage as being restricted to one man and one woman. So as we got involved, as I got involved in the movement, we were already trying to dig out of a very deep hole, you might say, as deep as about the Grand Canyon. I joined the staff of Freedom to Marry, which was led by a wonderful colleague, a very inspiring leader, Evan Wilson. And part of what he did that I think was so brilliant was to lay out what would be the process for actually being able to win marriage in America, because after so many losses, everyone was a bit unclear, really, about what our path to victory would be. And that was composed of three elements: building majority support amongst the American people, winning more states. We had won some states initially, which I'll explain, and then advancing to a federal resolution. And in the US, the federal resolution would have come either through the US Congress or the Supreme Court. Given the makeup of the Congress, we were not very hopeful about that route for quite a while now. So what we felt we needed to do was build momentum throughout the United States and really make it safe and okay for the Supreme Court to give an opinion in our favor. So the state-by-state battles happened in three different ways. One was winning state-level court cases for marriage. A second was going to state legislatures, proposing bills, and winning those. And in fact, we started doing that through some of the more Democratic-controlled legislatures early on, especially in New England states. And then the third level was winning state referenda. We would have to go back and amend those state constitutions, get these states to vote again, and basically undo what they had done before. And in fact, by 2008, 2009, our opponents really taunted us with the idea that, well, maybe we could win in court, and maybe we could win in legislatures that were controlled by Democrats, but that we would never win a popular vote in a US state to legalize marriage for same-sex couples. Our team at Freedom to Marry, we had a fantastic digital and social media team. And in a sense, what we needed to do, and what we eventually ended up doing, was running 37 individual state campaigns. We won 37 states before we went to the Supreme Court, ultimately. And our team created unique brands, unique logos that were state-specific for every one of our state campaigns. It may be something unique to America, or maybe you all experience it, but as a national organizer, when I go to any state in the US, the first thing they'll tell us is, it's really different here. Whatever works everywhere else won't work here. And so we needed to create campaigns that felt unique and localized, and at the same time introduce messaging, strategies, and tactics that we had found were working very, very well in other places. As Dwayne mentioned, messaging really was a crucial aspect of our being able to turn the page from loss to victory. And I'm hoping very much now that this video is going to play. The first video I will cue up here is a 30-second ad from 2004. And this is a really good indication of where we were previously in our campaigning. And I have to say, you know, we were doing polling, we were doing research, but I think a good lesson out of the marriage work is, you know, the research results are only really as good as the questions you ask. Let's see if I can get this one to play.
Oregon's Constitution is supposed to protect everyone, but that will change if Constitutional Amendment 36 passes. Whenever we meddle with the Constitution, there are unforeseen consequences. 36 could deny gay and lesbian couples the right to visit one another in the hospital, or the right to keep their family home if one of them dies. That's not fair. Don't use the Constitution to hurt people. Vote no on Constitutional Amendment 36.
So, language all about the Constitution, about legal rights. We had a retired judge sitting in a law library in front of books. And a very sort of legalistic, let's say, in the head kind of message. And really that came out of the experience of our base. And really it was taken from the legal cases, in fact, at the time. You know, people who are denied legal rights are extremely aware of what those denials are. If you rush to the hospital because your life partner has been in a terrible car accident, and someone at the hospital door says, you know, you're not family, you can't come in. You can't sign that permission for your loved one to have a life-saving surgery. I mean, that is preeminent in your mind. The challenge for us was that turned out to be not the way that most Americans thought about marriage. So after doing some focus groups, we sort of wiped the slate clean and we decided, let's just go talk to our conflicted voters. And we thought of them not as undecided, but truly conflicted. And the way we defined those conflicted voters was they probably knew someone who was lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender. They probably thought that person or couple, same-sex couples, deserve some sorts of rights, maybe domestic partnership or something called civil union. But they weren't comfortable with the idea of marriage for same-sex couples. So after doing that research, we put some questions on a poll and we asked, did a split sample. Why do couples like you, i.e. straight people, why do you get married? And 72% answered for love and commitment. And then we asked the other half of the poll respondents, why do you think same-sex couples want to get married? 42% said for rights and benefits, and guess what? Those folks were paying attention, because that's what we had been talking about, the need for legal rights. 36% said, well, love and commitment. And a whopping 22% said, I have no idea. We don't know why these couples want to get married. This was the polling result I woke up with every morning. It was the vision blazed in my brain for months at a time. So we needed to solve this question. Why did marriage matter to same-sex couples? We created a public education campaign that we rolled out through the states, not for the last 6 weeks of our electoral battles, but 1 or 2 years in advance. We started conversation campaigns ahead of time so that we could start to change the narrative a little bit and tell some stories. We shifted from having what we would call in the US a canvas wrap that was a very tight, sort of 30-second statement that we would give to voters at the door and ask them if they agreed or disagreed. We would shift to longer form conversations that just consisted of a group of questions. What role has marriage played in your life? And people would tell us very heartfelt stories of their own marriage, their parents' marriage. And then go on and talk about why same-sex couples might want to get married. Changing the way we did our ads, and here's one example.
We've been married for 27 years.
We've been together for 10 years.
Well, actually 33 years.
Legally.
We've been married 31 years.
Next month, we celebrate our 57th anniversary together.
Getting married is about making that special vow in front of family and friends to be together forever.
No one should be treated differently for any reason. We're all human.
I would just say love is love. It belongs to everybody.
And the last thing I'll share with you is that we found that raising a discussion about values was a crucial component of getting voters to kind of reconsider a position that they may have firmly been attached to before. And in our research in the United States, we found that the golden rule, the idea of treating other people the way you would want to be treated, was a very important value that sort of triggered people to rethink their position.
Where I grew up, gay people were not in the forefront and in the community.
Over the years, I've met some gay and lesbian couples, and their commitment to each other is just like our commitment to each other.
Built around love, just like any other relationship. As a parent, as a neighbor, the golden rule is very important.
We teach our children to treat people the way we want to be treated. I would absolutely not want anyone to tell me that I could not get married.
And we certainly wouldn't want to deny that for anyone else.
So that was our messaging journey, and it provided for us really fantastic results. I'll just say in closing that it felt like we had been pounding on the door of America for a long time and not able to have a conversation. And when we found the right message, it was like we got this key, and we turned the key and the door swung open, and we were able to walk into a whole new kind of engagement with American voters. Thank you.
So, in Ireland, we were lucky enough to have had the experience of our brothers and sisters in America, and in particular, the expertise of Thalia, who shared all of their learning so that we didn't have to reinvent wheels. So, in Ireland, we had a challenge. We also had the American experience, which was about how do you move away from telling people how they should vote. And what we decided to do is we would have as our secret weapon, I'm voting yes, can I tell you why? And this was something that we stole from our colleagues in Scotland when they were embarking on their referendum about independence. And there was a photograph in one of the papers with a woman standing in some square in Edinburgh, and she had a lanyard around her neck, and on it was, I'm voting yes. Ask me why. So we used that. That was how we trained our canvassers to tell their stories about why they were voting yes. You saw in the video These two women, Catherine Zappone and Louise Gilligan, and they were the two women who were married in Canada and came back to Ireland in 2004 and took a High Court case to have their marriage recognised. And that really began the public awareness, and our role in marriage equality was to support them initially and then to win a wider campaign. However, as with our colleagues in America, we never wanted to fight a referendum. As you know, majority should never be voting on minority rights. It's not fair, it doesn't make sense, but we did find ourselves, but this is maybe somewhat ironic, this is a little video that we did during our campaign where we were trying to put pressure on the legislature to simply legislate for marriage equality in Ireland. And this was a little video that we made that went viral for us and turned out to be quite prophetic.
Hi, I'd like to ask for Sinead's hand in marriage, please.
Sure, no problem.
Thanks.
Hi.
I'd like to ask for Sinead's hand in marriage, please.
Okay.
Thanks. Hi, I'd like to ask for Sinead's hand in marriage.
Constantin.
Gama. An Will Cadagum Sinead Fosa.
Oh.
Brilliant. Gurmagat. I'd like to ask for Sinead's hand in marriage. Hello. I'd like to ask for Sinead's hand in marriage, please. Can I ask for Sinead's hand in marriage, please?
Yeah?
Thanks.
Come on.
I'd like to ask for Sinead's hand in marriage.
So, what we thought we would never actually end up having to do, we ended up doing through various convoluted routes. We ended up with the government deciding that the only way that they were going to move on the issue of marriage equality in Ireland was to have a constitutional referendum. Marriage in the Irish Constitution has a particular specific named place, and until the referendum last year, it was defined as between a man and a woman. So again, learning from our colleagues in the States, we knew that running a campaign was about starting with values and beliefs and ends up in values and beliefs. And so we chose a series of values that we continually reflected to the Irish public about the kind of Ireland and the kind of Irish people they were. And these were beautiful values like Irish people are loving, equal, fair, generous and inclusive. And that's why they will be voting yes. And getting people in behind this sense of, May 22nd was an opportunity for Irish people to be their better selves. And amazingly, it worked. A positive campaign. We were asking people to vote yes, always good to be on the yes side. So we had our colours, our branding, everything was positive. Tone is so important in any campaign, and I believe in our campaign we paid very, very particular attention to the tone. The message and the messenger are inextricably linked, and we again learned from our American colleagues about who are the messengers. You saw some of the American ads, older couples who'd been married 50 years. These were people who appeared in a household booklet that we sent into every house in Ireland in the last week. Thalia had spoken about in America, they used, ex-servicemen and firefighters, and we were thinking, we don't really think about those people in that way in Ireland, but who do we think about in that way? We were trying to target men over 40 in particular, and we came up with hurling stars, Irish hurling stars, big, tough men, rugby players, the kind of people that Irish men, would have a pint with and would listen to them if they were to speak to them. So positive messaging, this idea of yes, getting behind the yes. We asked any public figure, including Bosco, to support the campaign, and we unashamedly put these out every day on social media. We had memes with people saying, this is why I'm voting yes, you should think about voting yes. This was a particular champion, Justin McAleese, who happened to be a gay man who was very active in our campaign, and wonderfully his mother happened to be the former President of Ireland, staunch Catholic, and she was voting yes, and her intervention in the last week of the campaign was hugely important. I always felt that Mary McAleese, in voting yes, gave my mother, who would be 92, and a Catholic, permission to vote yes. Very important. Lovely rugby players like Rob Kearney. This guy is the head of Twitter in Ireland. Big companies coming out and saying, yeah, we're supporting yes because our employees need equality. Father Peter McFerry, again, an Irish Catholic priest. We got lots of priests and nuns who were willing to come out. Again, just breaking that kind of monolithic notion that there's Catholics who are all against it and everybody else on the other side. It was not the case. So in terms of the Irish referendum campaign and travel, this is one of those heat maps that I like to look at. And really it just shows us that there was a billion global impressions generated, over 467,000 tweets, various users, really wonderful statistics, and I think social media people would love that idea. And you can see we would be familiar with most of these little red dots are where Irish people have gone to, and you will know that we had a wonderful Home to Vote campaign, which was people travelling from all over the world to come back to Ireland to cast their vote. And that was one of the more moving elements of the campaign, where the evening before the vote, the entire arrivals hall in Dublin Airport was full of about 6,000 or 7,000 people, and somebody caught a photograph of them all holding up their passports when they were asked, how many of you are coming home to vote? And they were all coming home to vote. So that idea of the values, drawing people back to vote in something that they think this is really important, that we say, that we tell the world what kind of a country we really are, and that's what the yes vote meant, and that's what the campaign was about. It was about, making that feeling the uppermost feeling in people's minds. These are some of the campaign statistics that you might be interested in. We could only afford to put up 5,000 posters around the country. So social media was hugely important for us because it was where we knew, in terms of our age base, we had huge support, but our big challenge was getting the clicktivists to become activists, people to move from, sharing and putting things on Facebook and actually going out and canvassing and voting. So in the minutes that I've left, I have a couple of short videos. I'm not going to show them all to you, but I think one is around the idea of getting the correct messenger and messages. And this is Pat and Paddy, parents of Joan, and you'll see the similarity between this and a video that Thalia has shown you. This is Pat and Paddy on why marriage matters to them.
We're 55 years married, have 5 children, and this horrendous child here, Joan. This was the last time she wore a dress. Couldn't get her into a dress after that.
I would like to see Joan have the right to be married, same as all the children, and to be as happy as the rest of my children wish they are her.
Joan and Olivia are 16 years together now, and they'd love to be married, and I'd love to see them married. The same as their brothers and sisters were. It would mean a lot to them. It would mean a lot to us too.
I think it's time for us to move on in society, to be a little bit more open our minds a bit more. I don't think I have a right to deny anybody the love and friendship of getting married to whatever gender.
We've been so happy ourselves, thank God. I'd love to see my children have the same happiness. And for all our children, like gay or otherwise, there's nothing to lose by voting yes, only to gain happiness for a lot of people.
I wouldn't like to deny her that opportunity, because if you vote no, you're actually denying her that opportunity, and I certainly don't want to do that.
So Pat and Paddy were marriage equality champions, and the idea of them in unscripted, that was absolutely their own words, what they wanted to say about their daughter. But the power of that, we at the beginning in marriage equality, 8-10 years before that, we would have young lesbian and gay couples talking about being lesbian and gay with their children on their own. When we were in the throes of the campaign, and again it was from what we'd learned in the States, we had couples like Pat and Paddy. They were the ones who were moving the hearts and minds of the million in the middle that we knew we'd have to win in order to have a win on the day. And these are the boys on the beach playing hurling. I'll get this one up for you. Again, you know, who are, if you're trying to target men, over 45 were our most resistant grouping. That doesn't seem to be coming up. Stop. Men over 45 were our most resistant. We too were doing polling, we were doing focus groups, what's working, what's not, how can we move the million in the middle, who do they want to hear? And very interesting enough, in the focus groups we did, many of the LGBT known activists, they were coming back with very low scores in terms of who did people want to hear talking about this issue. They wanted to hear mothers, fathers, grandparents, and Catholics speaking about why they were voting yes, and that's what we gave them. And use of video, social media was crucial to that. The vast majority of the videos that we have, and if you look at the Yes Equality, they're still up there on the Yes Equality YouTube site, they were made by other people for us. Literally, you'd be in the office and somebody would ring and say, we've made a video, can I send it to you? And say, yeah, sure, send it in. And our thing was, again, to try to say yes to everybody. So we had, you know, a central campaign, but actually what we had were over 70 Yes Equality groups around the country knocking on doors, and we had hundreds and hundreds of people who were using their creativity and their resources to get in with the campaign that they felt was really reflecting them. We also used... People came to us with really well done professional videos, and some of you may know Brendan O'Carroll, who plays Mrs. Brown in the comedy series, and Brendan O'Carroll and a lot of his colleagues on the programme were big supporters of the campaign, and they managed to get Lenny Abrahamson, who just won his recent film Room. They made this short video which they put out, and again it was one that went viral for us. And this was about how do you reach people who wouldn't normally be campaigning types, but they watch television, and how do you get the kind of message across to them in the way that works. And this was Brendan O'Carroll, again the irony of a man in drag who was being such a champion. I can't seem to be able to get this up. Who was such a champion for marriage equality. No, come on. And again, this was another video that went viral, and it was another video which they made. They rang us, they told us that they were putting this together, and we had little or nothing to do with it. So as a campaign, I think a couple of things I would leave with you. One is message and messenger, absolutely crucial. Tone. We did not engage in any of the ping-pong type of debates, if we could avoid it, with the other side. Our thing was always to stop people to say, I'm voting yes, can I tell you why, and never to tell people how to vote. So this is Mrs. Brown.
Hello. I'd like to talk to you today about midget equality.
Marriage, Mammy.
What of?
It says marriage equality.
What have you got against midgets?
Nothing, Mammy. I've nothing against anybody. It's just that this is about marriage equality.
What about it? Any two people who feel in love enough should be allowed to get married. What's the feckin' fuss?
Well, some people believe that if you allow gays and lesbians to get married, it might change the meaning of marriage and family.
I've heard that one before. When I was a young girl, there was a big hoo-ha about mixed marriages. You know, Catholics marrying Protestants and black people marrying white people. But you know what? They still went and got married. And the world didn't end. No. And we all grew up a little bit. And you know, we all have to grow up a little bit now. Marriage isn't easy. Changing the law isn't easy. And changing attitudes is even harder. But we can do it. We've done it before, and the world didn't end. Oh, I know that some of you think it's not right. Well, all I can tell you from my experience is that I can't describe the joy I feel to see my son Rory having the same opportunity for happiness as everybody else's son. And that's all I ask for him. The opportunity. Whatever. Go out and vote. That's the important thing. Go out and vote. Do you know, Rory, there was a time when women weren't allowed vote? I know. See, that's the thing. Every generation gets a chance to make a big change. And you're going to get your chance on May the 22nd. So go on, do it. Go out and vote. And keep in mind, support midgets. Oh, they asked me to make it funny. These two queers were...
Mammy!
What?
Every generation gets its opportunity to make a change, and I think that particular video was hugely influential in getting people to get on board with the campaign that has really, I think, changed things in Ireland, and I hope being part of the wider movement gives some insight into how to move a society where, 30 years ago we were looking at a country where there was little or no openness to so many issues. Contraception was still illegal, abortion, which is still illegal. So there are some things that have changed in Ireland and other things that haven't. But there's no doubt that the story of the marriage equality journey in Ireland is, I think, something that has resonance for many of you in the campaigns that you're conducting, where using values, you can change hearts and minds. And I think Thalia and myself will be quite happy to answer any questions you might have. My co-director on the campaign, Brian Sheehan, and our strategic advisor, Noel Whelan, wrote a book for the 3 months after the referendum last year. That's what we were doing so that we could get it out there and share with people. So the minutiae of the 100 days of the campaign are in that, and it is available on Amazon if people wanted it. Thank you very much for your attention.